for 8 months. If you don't know what that is, it's meat, butter, bacon, eggs, a lot of eggs. And I love it. I love it. It's not even, I don't even call it diet. Like, I just changed it.
Aye, ready to hunt.
Lassie, shut us forward!
There it is. Let's move. No time to tarry. There it
How can I? Time is short. Make haste.
Yes? double as is. There's the tyrant, in all his rotten glory.
First ones,
That's
hear
no
our
statue.
laments. Sanity recedes ever further into the dark. Shadows hover above us, in the corners, watching and waiting. What sickness has come among us that so unsettles our minds? It sits poised to strike. Nowhere is safe.
Don't back! Need a moment. Whatever it was, it's dead now. I'm bent double as is.
How can I be?
Hello. I've collected the... I will treasure it.
beast hungers.
No noose this time. I'll remove your head myself!
Go on then! Come and get me! Look out!
Easy, Ray! You'll pay with your life! Yes.
I've heard enough of the beast to know feeding it's a fool's game.
Remove your head myself!
Go on then! Come and get it!
First one's iron! You'll pay with your life. Easy, Ray!
Need more time!
To me, first one's iron. Run, little rat!
Straight through the app!
Easy, Ray! Greatwood! Adriana! Open the cage! Release the beast! Give me what you promised! You manipulative whore! How dare you, man! After all I've given you! Freezing men! I will take out your hearts and savor each bite. Your pulse quickens. The eternal endure. With bloodlust empowered. Our Casimir endured. But soon all were devoured. In unending war. Death waited at the door. Then hour by hour, men fell as summer sound. Requiem. Desolation. I will take out your hearts and savor each bite. hunted. Fang, tooth, and claw. Tortured under the moon. The pack suffered but endured. Unhowled now intrigued. No tales were told. None new, none old. The endless hunger grew ever stronger. I will take out your heart and savor its blood. Killing requiem on high. And savor requiem on high. I smell your blood, and I am ravenous. As night falls, winter's chill, softly unrolled, through an endless night, they wither and tarry.
Need a moment.
Forsaken forests, as cold as death, of Bale's misery. The pack won't forget. Breathe each day. I will take out your heart and savor each bite. Requiem on high. The air grows colder. Agna the moon. Agna the impaler. As swift as death. And imbued by the moon. Cursed or gifted. Branded and afflicted. Your brain is soon chilled. Agna shall slay again. I will take out your heart and savor it. Requiem on high. I smell your blood. And I am killing no justice of pain. Your pulse quickens. The eternal impure. With bloodlust empowered. Our Exile endured. But soon all were devoured. In unending war. Death waited at the door. Then hour by hour, men fell as summer sun. Killing for us. tooth and claw. Tortured under the moon. The pack suffered but endured. And how now in tune. No tales were told. None new, none old. And their endless hunger grew ever stronger. I smell an iron ravenous desolation. I will take out your heart and save breathing. As night falls, winter's chill, sought through a world, through an endless night, may wither and tarry, forsaken frosts, as cold as death, of Bale's misery. The pack won't forget.
Allow me to clear your mind, if only for a moment.
The madness. It consumed my being. Oriana used it against me.
Where has she taken the beast?
I found messages from the desert.
From the Vastiri?
Yes. Find her. Kill her. But first, please, stop the madness.
As you wish. We must make haste. Let us return to Clearfell to make our preparations.
You've done well. The dark good luck to you.
Count Giano, we can finally. Till next time.
We must pursue Oriana. The fledgling beast is the betrayal of the Countess has escaped with the beast. Every attempt to control it has ended in cataclysm. We must pursue her to the plains of Vastiri. We should find a Marikath caravan. Only they can lead us through that harsh and unforgiving land.
Well,
This outpost. Go.
So, this is the Visteri.
You are seeking Hyenic raiders.
I'm no stranger to slaying beasts. Aye, I'll make it work. There, the leader.
Defeated, you may travel.
The Asmeri had make use of this. To move from one.
The beast is on the move, twisting. I assume she has allies here. Go.
I am a Sala. Remain a friend. So, we Maraket are honor bound to seek, and the trail connects to Tulu. Fight to the last.
It's shut.
The Halani gates are closed. For glory.
have lived in the shadows of the dunes for too long. Countless generations have been forgotten, will be forgotten. We are not Faradin. We are Maraketh. And if we work together, if we unite, then they will be forced to acknowledge us. We must show them cutting us off is a mistake. We must show them our strength. Perhaps we will one day utilize ourselves. For all those who live in the plains of Bastille.
Lightning shot us good! Need a moment. is no mine. It's a death trap. Nowhere safe! Better off dead. That was almost a challenge.
Quickly.
Hello. I will tell your tale. Speak up. Stay in sight.
of a traitor. Serpent's tongue, scorpion stinger. Either way, now you pay with your life.
He's insane!
Insane? Shut your mouth, traitor! Burn! Burn!
Run straight through the arm.
Breathe it in! Explode!
praise you. 1,000 praise. Please, take me back.
One civilian out of hundreds. That was easy.
How can I invite? How can I?
Speak up.
I will tell your tale.
How can I be? How can I advise?
I know what Jaman Ra intends. He intends to feed their boy. The Halani gates are closed, but there is another way. An ancient... Scylla.
So, the our city of the dead. Let us see if this... For glory.
Finally some shade. I'm sweating like a stuck pig, I am. Take this! Lightning shattered bone! lasses, then. They have an air of importance.
The traitor Balbala has been sentenced to 1,000 years of suffering as a
The hunt is on!
Let no woman or man of America enter the prison before her time is
Too late to stop the bloodshed, but not too late to avenge the fallen. Get the razor!
Hold them back while I open the gate!
Onward!
Just set.
Hey, shaman.
Will fall by my hand!
Lightning strike, class.
I shall throw you, Sekama, and leave you to the sand! Wrath of a king! The mannequin will fall by my hand! I shall dethrone you, Sekama, and leave you to the sand! The mannequin will fall by my hand! Will fall by my hand! I tried to seek peace, and the Sekemas disgraced me! This time, we choose war! We shall finish this!
See how he runs? Some king.
Quickly! He called us the very Santa against us. This is no natural sandstone. We must battle sorcery with sorcery. Let us return to the caravan and defeat darkness.
Who goes there? By the sound, I only hope I have weapons, and if you are traveling through the traitor, I will tell you. Goodbye.
Shaman Rakan could. We would have. Stay in sight.
The Countess, we must read. Go.
What? Do not wander.
Ah, yes. You have your orders.
The onlookers looked in shock at Miri.
Are you looking for the best meal plan to round out your fitness routine? I got you. Factor was the missing link, not just for
Sup, my fellas, don't forget to leave feedback, and enjoy the story. There were many customers in the cafe. The main character was sitting at a table with a laptop. Rolling his eyes, the web novel writer could not come up with a plot for a new game, despite the fact that the deadline was tomorrow. Suddenly, he looked at the phone lying next to him. Taking it in his hands, Ilshin decided to delete several unnecessary applications. An icon in the form of a chest appeared on the screen. Scratching his temple, the guy thought that he had not downloaded this game. Mimic opened his mouth and stuck out his tongue. A loading bar for the game God Maker appeared in front of him. A black ant appeared on the screen. An incomprehensible text appeared on the plate. The game was made very crookedly. Thinking that he would have to delete this game anyway, the young man clicked on the screen. The main character raised his eyebrows in surprise. His finger touched the screen. It was a novel that readers had difficulty understanding and which made him retire. A huge ant bared its teeth. A crowd of monsters pounced on the man. Ilshin raised his index finger up. Lightning flashed around him. The boy used the crushing finger of God. His eyes lit up. Rays of light fell on the monsters. Screams were heard. The ant raised his hands above his head to hit the enemy. His powerful fists destroyed the ground. However, there was no one at the place of impact. Flying into the air, the boy used the condemning middle finger of God. Bright flames engulfed the insects. Finding themselves in the epicenter of the fire, the monsters began to scream in unbearable pain. The writer landed on the ground. He lowered his head. Putting his finger to the wound on his cheek, the protagonist used a restoration spell. A giant centipede crawled out of nowhere and stopped in front of him. Summoning a sword in his hand, Ilshin thought that he had to write novels before. The monster opened its fanged mouth and roared. The boy swung his sword and rushed to attack. There was a laptop on the table. Few people knew or liked this novella, and yet it was quite difficult. A message appeared on the computer screen. It said that the author was taking a break for personal reasons. The black screen of the phone sparkled, and many dissatisfied comments appeared. A young man was trying to save the world. God creator appeared on the phone screen. Neoplasms in the world. For the monsters, people like him had to extract the different from the ability of an ordinary person. The schoolgirl looked at the propaganda poster. She frowned with displeasure. The girl looked at the poster. In her hand was an application for a retake. Under the photo, it said that she had a C-plus class. This was all over the girl had disappointment, upset that all shuddered when she was asked if she was okay. Looking around, she assumed that this was another thing she wanted to do. The party eyebrows, hoping that he would answer with the right the girl appeared around her. Someone was calling. Looking at his phone, the guy said that looking at him, the girl tried to understand what had just happened. The woman at the reception desk called out to her and asked her to go to the exam room. The sunset sky hung over the tall building. The schoolgirl was holding the exam results in her hands. Judging by the documents, her class had not changed. Crumpling the paper, Miri was upset that her class had not improved. Pursing her lips, she realized that she would not be able to rise any higher. Suddenly, a message came to her phone. An emergency message appeared on the screen that the gates in the center of Seoul had opened. The girl's eyes widened in surprise as she read that a spiked bull had appeared. Standing not far from the raging monster, the reporter reported that a demonic beast had appeared in the Central Park and that the hunters were holed up in their luxurious mansions while civilians, unable to flee, suffered. The monster had torn a tree out of the ground, and the journalist said that such a creature could destroy an entire city on its own. The protagonist grabbed the child's hand. Suddenly, the girl slipped and fell. Running up to her, Ilshin asked if everything was okay. He put his hands on her shoulders. At that moment, a spiked bull appeared right above them. The heroes closed their eyes in anticipation of their fate. A ball of energy formed in the sky and rained lightning down on the demon. Putting on her motorcycle helmet, Miri rushed forward. The monster looked back. The girl's mouth dropped open in surprise, noticing that her attack had done no damage. Finding herself in the air above the enemy, the girl decided to check how her next attack. Mild, the hero asked how long she planned to stay here. Miri was going to stay here until the hero turned her. Ilshin grabbed his head. He said that he was an ordinary G class. Why was she so clinging to him? Miri pointed to the ring he gave her and she became much stronger. Ilshin looked at the girl solemnly. He was glad that he helped her, but he was just lucky to find the ring. He understood her desire to become stronger, but still. Miri clasped her hands together and began to beg to give her at least a chance. After a while, she stood with a roller in her hands and said that now everything looked like a normal apartment. Miri looked at the hero with satisfaction. The wall was sealed and wallpaper with flowers was pasted. Ilshin looked out the window in shock. He said that he thought he heard thunder. Miri looked at the hero in confusion. He asked if it was really going to rain. The girl said that she was just a little hungry. Ilshin smiled, said that Miri did a good job and asked to allow him to treat her to lunch. The girl asked for noodles with black bean sauce. She was distracted by an urgent call on the phone. She sadly said that she would have to eat another time. Ilshin sadly looked at the phone. Miri was already putting on her helmet. The hero asked her to stop. He took a bottle out of his smartphone and asked her to take it with her. The embarrassed girl grabbed the bottle and asked how he did it. She compared it to the Hunter Canwu. The hero said that he had no idea who it was, but it would help her if she drank it. Miri jumped onto the window and said that she would cherish every sip. She jumped off the window and said that she would be back soon, which the hero did not expect. Ilshin watched the girl fly away and said that he would have to eat alone. After a while, he looked at the dish being prepared with anticipation. Breaking news was announced on TV. Everyone looked at the presenter on the screen. He said that an S-class monster, Drake, appeared from a rift during the Parliament conference. The men drank, ate, and looked at the screen with displeasure. The man maliciously hoped that the monster had destroyed everything there. But the host began to thank the hunter who had quickly arrived at the scene. But it seemed that all she could do was buy time for the people to escape. He said that the hunter who was currently fighting against the Drake was the Lightning Empress. Ilshin spat out his sake upon hearing the familiar name. He looked at the screen with alarm. The host said that the girl was obviously no match for the S-class monster. Footage of the monster and the Empress fighting appeared on the screen. The host said that the Hunters Association had requested immediate reinforcements. A bead of sweat ran down the hero's face. The host said that they would show the viewers the scene of the events in real time. The huge monster glittered with scales and growled. He raised his paw to strike, and with one blow he destroyed the square near the Parliament. The Empress grabbed the girl and managed to jump out. The crying girl ran away. Miri told her to run while she held off the monster. A shadow loomed over the Huntress. She couldn't believe that there was an S-class monster in her city. Would she be able to defeat it alone? She remembered her sister who said that if Miri got in her way, she wouldn't just let it go. The monster attacked. Miri dodged. She began to cast lightning and told herself to concentrate, because now was not the time to get distracted. She raised her hand, formed a huge ball of electricity on fire. The monster screamed, covered in lightning. A reporter nearby screamed that the Lightning Empress defeated the Drake. She said that their heroine was doing miracles again. The crowd began to chant joyfully. Miri smiled and said in disbelief that she did it. But suddenly the monster attacked her. It screamed, appearing from the rising dust. Miri fell to the ground and said with annoyance that she had not become stronger. The reporters froze in fear. The Empress trembled, holding her legs. An image of Mina appeared in her mind, telling her not to get cocky. Miri turned towards the light from the bottle the hero gave her. The Drake looked at the camera. The reporter said he was still alive, but the Empress's condition left much to be desired. A shadow loomed over the defenseless crowd. The girl said they hoped the Huntress was okay. The monster froze. A bright light began to pour onto its back. Miri threw the empty bottle at her feet. She was all sparkling and emitting flashes of electricity. Her hair rose, and her eyes glowed yellow. The Drake began to approach the people. The reporter froze. The cameraman continued filming, because cameramen never die. The monster turned towards the rising rumble behind him. Miri rose above his head, flashing lightning. She released a powerful storm at him. The TV screen filled with flashes. The bar patrons were shocked and began to discuss the power of the Lightning Empresses. One pervert noticed that his pants were swaying from his school cosplay. Ilshin was sweating from incomprehension. The reporter continued to talk about the events that were happening. The girl announced that they would now interview the Lightning Empress live. Miri scratched her helmet in embarrassment. The girl said that she had defeated an S-class monster. Although she had recently become in a class, she asked what her secret was. she began to show her thumbs up and tell the master that she had done it. She said that it was all thanks to the potion that she had been given. After a while, Miri and the hero were sitting at his house. The hero saw the growing number of views on the live broadcast. He looked at Miri, who was eating jajangmyeon at his house. She thanked the hero for buying her something to eat. Ilshin asked, shouldn't the girl go home? Want her family load? Miri smiled, put the plate down and said that she had no one to worry about her. Ilshin smiled. Opening his phone, he said that it couldn't be that there were parents who wouldn't worry about such a good daughter. Miri's face darkened and said that they died during the appearance of the dragon of the underworld. Ilshin looked at the girl in surprise. He knew that the best hunters from all over the world united and barely managed to defeat him. It was a serious incident that took the lives of millions of people. Ilshin bashfully turned away and covered his talkative mouth. He showed his ramen, said that Miri used too much energy, so he offered her his. Miri remained sullenly silent, but then she smiled and happily took the hero's portion for herself. She began to eat. Ilshin questioningly looked at the phone. The system reported that the hero had reached the target's favor and trust level. If the target said the key phrase, he would become his loyal follower. The key phrase was the following words: I trust Ilshin. Ilshin sighed and said that it was like all those second-rate novels he wrote. It suddenly dawned on him. He thought of ants and decided that in this case he would be able to get even more coins. But the terrifying red ants popped into his head. Ilshin did not know when the next ant invasion would occur. He smiled slyly. After all, the more God's coins the better. He smiled and looked at Miri and asked if she could fulfill his request. Miri's eyes sparkled and said that the hero could ask for anything he wanted. Ilshin embarrassedly scratched his neck and asked him to repeat what he was about to say. Miri looked questioningly at the guy. He said the necessary phrase. He immediately fell to his knees in shame and began to apologize for his strange words. But Miri calmly said that she believed him. Ilshin looked at the girl in surprise. Miri smiled enthusiastically and said that she believed Ilshin. The hero froze in a stupor. He looked at his phone. He had received a new follower. He leaned forward. The phone said that Miri was his first follower on Earth. The total number of followers exceeded 1,000. The system showed a description of the transfer skill. Now the hero could borrow the skills of his followers. Ilshin stood up abruptly. Miri looked at him questioningly. The hero was irritated because he did not receive money, because that was all he wanted. Miri looked at the master in confusion, trying to understand why he was acting like this. A portal opened in the next room. A flock of red ants began to enter the room. They stopped, watching the freaking out hero. The leader of the procession said that this man was the god of the Black Tribe. The leader frowned. He said that giving such an impudent person the position of a deity. This is an excellent decision. The leader of the procession conveyed that His Majesty said that this evil god will play a huge role in the Great War. He was going to let this insignificant little god understand how magnanimous their emperor is. Ilshin turned his head. He saw that he could now use Lightning Storm whenever he wanted. He raised his hand and used the transmission skill. A bright light hit the window of the house. Everyone in the room was shocked by electricity. An explosion occurred. The ants were burned. Miri blushed and laughed. All the walls of the apartment were blown away. A man looked out from the neighboring house and began to yell at the hero for throwing crazy orgies every day. Miri was glad that the hero could use his skills. Ilshin looked around with annoyance. He said that it did not matter now. The night sky was shining above his head. Ilshin cried and said that he would have to pay for the repairs again. Meanwhile, the ant ran to bow to the emperor. The emperor's huge shadow looked at the ant. He asked if the hero had killed his messengers. The speaker was trembling. He said that the hero had suddenly sent a lightning disaster upon them. He shouted that the emperor's great idea was so wonderful, and the hero, the ant, was pierced with a spear. The emperor's huge subordinate came and said that the ant must pay for its sins because it had upset His Majesty. The emperor shouted that he had never been insulted like that. The emperor roared and ordered that the head of the reckless and impudent creature who did not know his insignificant place be brought to him. He said that the honor of the divine throne, his and the empire, was at stake. They were in a huge Asian tower. The subordinates shouted in one voice that they obeyed the order of His Majesty, the great demigod and ruler of the empire. The next day, Miri trained. The hero looked at the dust that was raised. His jaw dropped. Miri could run so fast without even using skills. He thought that high-class hunters were really amazing. The girl asked if she should run more laps. The girl looked at the hero happily. He asked if she was done already. He handed her a bottle, asked her to drink it, to rest, so that they could continue later. The hero looked at the bottles. For him they were simple energy drinks, but on the girl everything worked completely different. He grabbed his head. It was stupid, but he accepted Miri as a student and therefore he had to do something. But all he could do was give her this potion. Miri looked at the hero and asked what she should do. Ilshin confusedly suggested her squats. He thought, asking himself, would he be able to find out how she should exercise better using the blind eye of the god? He looked at the crouching Miri and activated the blind eye of the god. The assessment of the enemy's mental state began. Ilshin gasped. he found himself in a bloody void. A bright light hit his face. In front of him was a huge tiger shackled in shackles. Ilshin screamed, asking what is this? The system reported that Miri's true power was sealed 10 years ago. Ilshin thought, originally Miri was an S-class and then he was able to remove the seal with the index finger of the god. He looked at the electric tiger and said that this means that if he cuts this chain, all of the girl's power will be unlocked. He reached out his finger to the animal. Meanwhile, people sluggishly dragged themselves. Miri vigorously bowed, saying goodbye to the hero. He told him to drink a potion before going to bed. The girl rushed away at great speed. Ilshin sighed, asking himself, how strong will the girl be when the chains are destroyed? He remembered how he destroyed the chains. The finger of the god destroyed only one chain at a time, and there were hundreds of them. The hero said that at this rate he would only unlock them in old age. He wondered who had bound Miri's power in the first place. He walked away, while the onlookers looked in shock at Miri. At that moment, someone from the crowd turned to the hero. The man adjusted his hood. He was obviously hiding. The hero grabbed his head and screamed. After all, he was looking at the gaping hole in the apartment. He said that this was the main problem. He sat down on the edge of the rift and took out his phone. The system reported that the silent nightmare was looking at the hero with sadness. He thought that he had already blocked this pervert. 1,000 blades were looking at him with indignation. Ilshin bit his finger and remembered the owner of that blade. 1,000 blades screamed that he was not just the owner of the blade, but the god of blades that the gods themselves feared. Ilshin sighed and quipped that he bought a toilet and there was nothing wrong with that. He looked forward sharply and asked, can these guys really read his thoughts? He stood up and complained that now perverts have turned into stalkers. The spirits pestered the hero. He grabbed his head. He screamed and began to send everyone. 1,000 blades tried to buy his blade back. Ilshin irritably told the spirit not to even dream about it. Suddenly he looked at the message from the nightmare, who laughed, thinking that the hero was funny, and winked at him to give him the blade for 10 million coins. Ilshin thought that with such money he could buy a good low-ranking rider item, as well as a bunch of potions for Miri. 1,000 blades got nervous. The nightmare called the spirit a beaten and hunched dog. Ilshin looked at the phone with curiosity. 1,000 blades wiped away a tear in his head. That in addition to the blade he was ready to offer the right, the hero immediately asked for his point. He looked in surprise at the description of the Ultra Blade Rider. Ilshin clenched his fist and said that the old man was right. He, as a man, did not dare to refuse the path of the samurai with a bloodstained blade. He looked at the phone. The nightmare offered him his right rose blooming in the night. The nightmare said that with this power the hero will not even sweat during the fight. He will become so strong. Ilshin smiled entrepreneurially. He stood on the edge of the rift and asked who will offer more. The hero received both rights. Ilshin sat down and began to watch how many times he can use different abilities. He looked forward seriously and used the rose blooming in the night. He looked outside, not understanding why nothing works. He began to angrily poke at the phone, because the rose in the night was activated only in a dream. He asked how he would know that he used it if it is activated only in a dream. He shook his head, said that it was his own fault since he trusted the pervert stalker. He decided to switch to the Ultra Blade. Nothing happened. The guy sighed tiredly. Ilshin turned red and screamed that the spirits were deceivers. He trembled. The Ultra Blade activated. Saliva flowed from his mouth. Everything became cloudy. The hero felt strange. He smiled madly because he wanted to stab someone. A small knife radiating red energy came out of his hand. Ilshin, like a maniac, licked the knife. He did not understand what was happening to him. He screamed that he wanted to cut and kill everyone. He ran out into the street and ran to cut, beat, and kill everyone. Meanwhile, in one of the establishments, people were finishing their shift. The cooks were sitting tiredly. The girl was saying goodbye to them. The cooks turned to each other and began to agree on something. She pointed to the kitchen, where a silhouette was visible. The man reminded that they had not yet cut the vegetables. Meanwhile, the hero was cutting huge boxes of blanks. He was smiling hysterically, crying from the onion and still could not cut. He returned home exhausted. He threw the knife into the box and said that the Ultra Blade and this knife are a damn dangerous combo. He fell on the mattress. He was afraid that something very terrible. Could happen, he decided that he would never touch the blade again. He looked at the sky through the destroyed ceiling. His hip hurt. Red ants appeared on the edge of the roof. The female smiled and said that the glory for killing the hero will be theirs. Salju clenched her fangs. She was going to get the best place among the 10 blades. She was going to surpass the dark spider. She intercepted the sphere and told everyone to get ready. But suddenly a red light began to shine from the apartment. A red rose grew from the hero's body. The conditions for activating a rose blooming in the night were met. The ants jumped to attack. The rose turned into a huge fanged mouth while the hero slept soundly. The flight trap slammed shut. Salju shuddered in fear. She looked at the blooming roses and flight traps. It was the flower of nightmare. A voice came from it, telling everyone to tremble in terror because their nightmares would soon bloom. The ants looked at the flight traps. Salju understood that this was definitely the flower of nightmare. She read about it in the old records of their tribe. The fighters looked at the leader and asked what to do now. Nightmare was a terrible god who swallowed 90% of the population of the great continent 3,000 years ago. The hero continued to sleep peacefully with the flower on his chest. Salju decided that he became a follower of Nightmare. She intercepted the spear and said that they should not be afraid, because the events of today will go down in history. She rushed to attack. The soldiers looked at each other. They said that they would follow her. They jumped after Salju. She said that they should approach the main body, going around all the moving branches. The female dodged the flycatcher. It found another victim. A huge fanged mouth opened in front of the beetles. Salju ran away, leaving the fighters to die. She turned to the rose. She understood that she could not kill the evil god, but she would take the follower of the terrible god of nightmare with her to hell. She swung her spear, and through it, the tip rushed into the center of the mouth. Salju shuddered and said that this could not be, because it simply absorbed her attack. She looked at the flycatcher. Her eyes reflected the open mouth. She thought that this was simply impossible. The hero absorbed energy in his sleep while muttering for Miri to take off her panties. A few hours later, the sun came out. Ilshin sat down tiredly and said that he felt full. With drooping eyes, he looked at the phone that was constantly beeping. On the screen appeared the Holy Maiden and her 101 followers. They were desperately asking the hero to save them. Ilshin looked at the phone with concern and asked what happened to them. He touched his temple, activating the blind eye of the god. The Holy Maiden was praying among the suffering bodies. All of them were poisoned by the venom of the killer bee tribe. Ilshin opened the laptop and asked, did they break into their hive because they wanted honey? He grabbed his head and began to think about what he could give to the ants poisoned by the poison. He asked not to die because he only needed a minute. He looked at the phone screen. Due to the sincere motives of his heart, his miracle menu was activated. The system showed the description of the miracle skill. Ilshin immediately chose to bestow a miracle on his subordinates. The coins were debited from his account. A small portion of the fruit of the world tree that Ilshin had absorbed was used as an ingredient for the miracle, and it was granted. Ilshin shook his head, asking if the ants would be okay. He began to feel sleepy again, causing him to fall off his sweet chair. The phone lit up. The good god title had improved to B-class. Ilshin had once again proven his right to be a neutral god, and now some gods, including generous abundance, began to pay attention to the hero. Meanwhile, the ants emptied their stomachs of poison. The Holy Maiden wiped her mouth. She cried, begging the good god to have mercy on their worthless tribe. A golden drop fell on her head. She suddenly raised her head. A warm light illuminated her face. A golden rain began to pour from the sky. All the ants began to rejoice because the rain washed away the poison. They said that Ilshin blessed them. The Holy Maiden prayed gratefully. She turned to the tribe and said that Ilshin had saved them again and they must repay him with the unwavering faith of their tribe. Everyone looked at the golden rain. The Holy Maiden offered to make an offering to the hero as proof of their faith. The ants began to explain. Ilshin woke up after a while. He sat up, not understanding why he felt so tired. He turned around. Mary was sitting next to him. She said that the master did not come to training, so she was worried and came to check on him. Mary smiled and asked what was this lovely figurine on the table. Ilshin looked at his statuette in confusion. The system reported that the Black Tribe made a statue of Ilshin with the reverence and fanaticism of religious believers. Ilshin asked what kind of ugly freak it was. He pointed at himself. Realizing that the statue was made in his likeness, Mary said that if you look closely, it looks good. She turned and asked if she could take it. Ilshin said that he could not go to training today. The girl calmly said that they would train next time. Ilshin sat down at the laptop. He needed to write chapters. The Black Tribe prayed to the sprout of the world tree, which appeared thanks to a miracle, but it was sick and would die in 24 hours. Ilshin began to rush about. He had to use the blessings of the god of growth, because if this is the world tree, then it gave the fruit that instantly cured all his burns. If he grows it, he will be able to sell these fruits at the highest prices. His ego smiled slyly. He climbed into the god's store, looking for something useful. He found something, a description of the tears of generous abundance open, but the hero had to complete the task. After a while, he collected cigarette butts. Looking around,
We meet again.
around with displeasure, he collected garbage in order to eventually save the world tree. The hero took out his phone, read about contributing to the purification of the world. He received 1 point. There were still 90 good deeds left. He turned around. Someone approached the hero and asked what he was doing on his territory. A huge man blocked the sun. It was Kansen. He said that a newbie like the hero shouldn't wander around in other people's territory. Ilshin tensed up. He knew for sure that he had seen this man somewhere. He hugged the garbage bag and said that there was a misunderstanding. He heard that homeless people are very sensitive to changes around them. He handed him a bill and asked him to take it to buy himself some warm food. Kansen exploded and asked how the hero dared to give him alms. Ilshin looked away sullenly, remembering that Kansen was an S-class hunter who used to be a janitor. Kansen put the bill in his pocket. He coughed into his fist and said that alright, he would accept his goodwill. Ilshin looked at his phone, surprised that his good deeds indicator hadn't increased. He looked at Kansen, who was already pouring out his drink. Ilshin clenched his fists and shouted at Grandpa. He showed him a bag of garbage and said that he would definitely take care of the cleanliness of these streets. He called him Henna. The old man laughed and said that the hero definitely had eyes. He asked what he would be. The confused hero said that he was a freelancer. Suddenly, the old man turned around at the strange sound. He looked ahead. People began to shout that a monster had appeared. The girls next to the hero were discussing that they had appeared not far away. Kansen sighed arrogantly. He said that the prediction was correct. The hero tried to leave. Kansen abruptly grabbed him by the collar, laughing. He said that it was better to go together. The old man ran, dragging the hero along with him. He shouted that he liked the boy more and more. Ilshin looked away. In an instant, he found himself in the sky and screamed in horror. Kansen looked at the empty warehouses ahead. He landed and said that the fortune teller said that there was an 80% chance of a rift appearing in this area, which means he hasn't drunk away his skills yet. Kansen turned to the hero and asked if he was dead. He thought the hero was at least a B class. He turned around. The monster showed himself. The huge Beelzebub loomed over him. Kansen realized that this would be a great training for him, and he would have frog legs for dinner. Ilshin lay face down on the asphalt. The monster said, "This is what he is, a young god." He said that he arrived earlier than the others. The monster grinned, because if he could offer the god to his master, he would be satisfied. He told the old man to get out of the way. Kansen turned gray. He flexed his fists and ran sharply at the enemy, radiating energy and asking what kind of old man he was to him, because youth still trembled in his heart. He jumped and swung his energy fist. The monster growled and said that this boy was his. Ilshin heard a notification about the detection of danger to the owner of the ability. The Rose of the Night was activated. The flycatcher opened its mouth and rushed after Kansen. The old man and the monster turned around in confusion. The Rose of the Night grabbed them both. The hero woke up near a flowering tree. He grabbed his head and asked, "Where is he?" In front of him stood an altar with a maiden next to it. Ilshin extended his hand towards her. The maiden took off her hood. Hearing the hero, she called him a great and merciful god. Ilshin looked at her in confusion. The world of the tree was torn apart and the hero found himself in a warehouse. He turned around. Kansen was pitifully calling for his mother. He was lying, covered in slime and saying that he had just been eaten by a giant flower. Ilshin recoiled from the terrible smell of the old man. He looked at the notification on his phone. It said that he had defeated the minion of the evil god and brought peace to this world. The demands for good deeds had greatly exceeded what was necessary. As a reward, the hero received an item of bountiful abundance, and the ability of Tears of Abundance will be activated to cure the sick sapling of the world tree. Ilshin blushed and said that now he will become the richest writer in the world. He looked around, asking what to do with the old man. Meanwhile, the sapling of the world tree was successfully restored. An ambulance team was on its way to the scene. The system reported that the more the influence of the hero's followers grows, the more divine power will be under his control. In gratitude for saving the world tree, the members of the Black Tribe gave the hero a second statue of Ilshin. Meanwhile, the corporates in suits discussed the fact that Kansen was hospitalized. They learned that the old man was physically fine. The man sighed. He knew Kansen would do this. He turned to the young man and asked what was bothering him. The guy said that he tried to give the old man flowers. He had a seizure. The man turned away and asked how the other hunters from the academy were doing. The guy said that as soon as Kansen left the hospital, they would begin to implement the plan. The man was sure that Kansen would become an excellent teacher for the Lightning Empress, because he had high hopes for the best teacher and a talented student. The hero's shadow slid along the wall of the destroyed apartment. He put the second statue next to the first, looked at them sourly and asked, "In what place are these freaks similar to him?" He looked at the message from the Holy Maiden. He was surprised, because thanks to the statue, the Virgin's sympathy increased by 105 units. The hero said that he never thought that he would chat with him. Happy ants appeared on the screen. The maiden asked to save them. The system notified that members of the Black Tribe were attacked by demonic beasts. The ants looked at the huge face of the screaming god. He asked how they dared to do this to his followers.
Saving money feels right. Just like when things are packed tidy and tight. Get auto insurance that fits your budget and your needs. Save up to 10% when you bundle auto and renters insurance. Get a quote today.
I'll take that.
He crossed over to their world and demanded to be taken to the beasts so that he could tear them apart with his bare hands. The Virgin began to thank the hero with admiration for such generous help. Ilshin coughed and calmly asked to be taken. The forest, the Virgin and the ants ran through the bushes. Ilshin made his way after his little followers. The ants stopped and trembled. Ilshin enlarged the image. A multitude of pixels were crawling across the territory. The hero began to analyze the target. The enemies turned out to be beetles. Ilshin jumped up in fear and squealed. He screamed in horror. The system reported that the cockroaches were summoned by a summoner of demonic beasts from the Demon Kingdom. The cockroaches were duplicated once an hour. The local Gulliver looked at the huge pile of approaching cockroaches. The ants backed away and screamed that they would all die. The Virgin looked at them sternly and asked, "Have they really forgotten already?" She pointed towards the hero and told him to remember that they were a black tribe, blessed by the protection of the great Ilshin. But the great god ran away in horror. The maiden's hand drooped. She quickly pressed it to her chest. The tribe said in resignation that the god had abandoned them and that the end was come. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's tower, the 404th came to bow. He said that he was confident in the information he had given. He reminded them that the Emperor should remember what results the demonic beast had shown in the last battle. The ant's eyes sparkled. He said that 4 days would be enough to bring the body of the false god. The Emperor said that in case of failure, only death awaited the man. He turned around. A beetle was running towards him and saying that he had an urgent report. The ruler's eyes lit up. He asked who dared interrupt him. If it's not something important, then his head will fly off his shoulders. The beetle bowed and said that the number of the cockroach tamer's beasts had increased to several million. The grasshopper looked down sadly and said that this evil and ruthless god. In the meantime, a rumble was heard in the forest. A can of anti-roach spray was spewing toxins. The Blank Tribe fighters were guarding the cockroach traps. In the shadow of the hero, the bodies of beetles were smoldering. Ilshin covered his nose with a towel. He found the traps in a box at home. The ants looked at him and said that there were still survivors ahead. Ilshin looked at the twitching cockroach. They began to pierce it with spears. The hero glanced at the gloomy maiden. She looked into the void with panic. The hero asked what happened if all the demonic beasts were defeated. Ilshin jumped back from the phone. A loud cry came from it. The girl cried and screamed that she doubted the great god. Now she did not deserve to be his believer. The voice from the phone begged to kill him, but the hero said that there was no need. He asked the girl to calm down. The hero suddenly received the conditions for obtaining a new special skill. It was about the multiplying thumb of God for 100 coins. The description, as always, was strange. He jumped up, wanting to try the new skill. He stopped and looked at the phone with displeasure and grimaced in shock. The great manager wrote that they needed to meet. The manager handed the hero a bottle of sake and offered to try it. Ilshin handed him a glass, drank it. The manager suddenly became handsome. The hero asked why he was staring at him like that. Ilshin was embarrassed. He was asked what happened to his work pace. The manager suddenly slammed the table and asked the hero to put in at least a little effort. The hero said that he was too drunk. The manager pointed his finger at the guy and asked if he understood what he had to go through at work because of him. Ilshin opened the phone. The demonic beasts attacked the Black Tribe again. The system invited him to join the battle. The manager suddenly hit the hero on the head and asked how dare he play games now. The screams from the cafe echoed throughout the street. Meanwhile, in the world of ants, the ants were fighting the cockroaches. The holy maiden was praying at the top of the tree. She raised her hands in the moonlight. Her eyes turned red. She asked the hero to be sure that they would cleanse this world of all demonic spawn. The hero received 300 million divine coins. Evening, the way home. Ilshin staggered and hiccuped. Tears of generous abundance asked him for help. The guy leaned on the wall. The system began to report that the hero can choose any skill as a reward for reaching a new rank. Blushing, Ilshin was about to buy the most expensive skill. The system showed the description of the skill of creating heaven and earth. He fell inside. User Yulshin did not meet the requirements for obtaining the skill. This skill will be converted into a false one to match Yulshin's level. Partial change of the world began. Mina came out of the shower. She looked at Miri and asked what she did today. Miri looked at the sky with confusion. Meanwhile, Hansen was collecting trash with tongs. Panic arose. Everyone looked at the sky and asked, "Is this the end of the world?" The core also went to the window. Yulshin saw it too, as did the other hunters. A huge yellow moon was approaching the earth. John calmly looked up. The surviving man was trembling with fear. The apostle asked him about the Lightning Empress. They were in a destroyed building among corpses. John asked, "Is this the name of the hunter who interferes with the guild leader's affairs?" He smiled and said, "Finally the time has come." The man asked, "How many people?" The apostle reached out to the golden moon and said the more the better, but ordered to start with 2,000. He began to drool and asked his lord to be sure that his devotee will fulfill his great will. He said that they will bless this world with the will of God. In Earth orbit, Houston asked to report on the situation on the second moon. The NCS-2 reconnaissance reported that approaching the second moon was impossible. The shuttle collided with an energy field. The shuttle began to drift to the side. The pilots said that they had lost control. The golden moon was covered in a green glow. The moment the second moon appeared over their heads, the world fell into a stupor comparable to the appearance of Rick. People still could not say anything except that it shines gold at night and green during the day. Experts predicted that the number of gates and dungeons could increase sharply. The Korean Association said that it would cooperate with the government to quickly respond to the situation with the second moon. Ilshin was sitting on the steps. He had a headache. Miri said that she was back. She looked at the hero and said that she ran 500 laps a little longer than usual. Ilshin stood up and asked the girl to get into a plank. Miri noticed that the master pays a lot of attention to the basic.